Hello, this video is for all parents, but especially for those of you with children ages 9 to 13. The years when children's bodies, feelings, and lives are undergoing dramatic changes, and the years when they start to spend more time away from you, making new friends, doing new things, and making decisions for themselves. And one of the things they will be deciding on is whether or not to try alcohol and other drugs. Whether or not to try drugs or to continue taking drugs are decisions you cannot make for your children. But you can prepare your kids to make good decisions by trying to understand their new needs and helping them understand your wishes for a safe and healthy family. We would like to suggest 4 ways. Catch drug problems early. Keep communicating. Set a good example. Help them find ways to refuse drugs. The drugs under discussion are the 4 that are easiest for kids to get. Tobacco, which most kids who smoke tried first at about age 12. Alcohol, which most kids who drink tried first around age 13. Inhalants, products like gasoline, glue, and nail polish remover, which give off fumes that can be sniffed. Kids who use inhalants usually do it between the ages of 8 and 16. And marijuana, usually the first street drug kids try. We will give you some basic information about why children try drugs, about the dangers involved, and how you can talk to your kids about them. To conclude, we'll show you 3 ways that kids can handle peer pressure to take drugs. The situations we'll show you may not be yours exactly, and the kids may not be exactly like yours, but the communication skills that you'll see demonstrated can work for you. If you think that your child has tried tobacco, alcohol, or other drugs, don't ignore it or treat it as a harmless part of growing up. That won't make it go away, and it may send out signals that you don't care.
Max, could you come here for a minute? Max, I just found this cigarette in your jeans. So I'm just wondering if you've been smoking. You want to talk about it?
I was keeping it for Peter. He got it from his place.
Yeah, okay, but what I'm really interested in is whether or not you've been smoking.
Well, I only had a couple.
Max.
Dad smokes.
Well, I know, but you know he's trying to quit because he knows cigarettes are bad for you. And anyway, we're talking about you, not Dad. You got a minute to sit down and talk? Okay, let's talk about some of the things cigarettes can do to you right now.
Like?
Like make your breath smell awful, turn your teeth yellow, make your hair and clothes smell. And you know that a lot of athletes don't smoke, don't you?
Yeah, 'cause they gotta run fast.
That's right. And what about the cost? I mean, how are you going to pay for all those cigarettes?
I don't know, but everybody's trying it.
I know. And it's tough being the only guy who doesn't.
Yeah, I feel like a baby or something.
Well, I think you're behaving like an adult, not a baby, when you make the decision not to smoke. Oh, Max, I don't want you to smoke. You know why?
Because it's not good for you?
Well, that's one reason. You know why else?
What?
Because I love you.
Mom.
Well, I do.
A lot of parents try to talk to their children about drugs and other subjects, but all too often they find that it doesn't seem to do much good. One of the main reasons for this is simply the fact that what an adult thinks is a discussion, a child often takes to be a lecture. Let's take a look at what Jill did to try to make Max understand this wasn't a lecture. First, Jill stayed calm. This is important, no matter what the drug, no matter what the situation. Jill didn't accuse Max of anything. Instead, she simply showed him what she found and told him that the evidence made her think that he might have tried cigarettes. Next, she tried to find out if he did and offered to talk about it if he wanted to. Most people know the facts about smoking, but Jill emphasized the immediate effects of the drug. That's what was pertinent to Max. She said she understood what Max was trying to say about being the one not smoking, but she also said she didn't want him to smoke. And then she gave him a good reason. She loves him. Make sure that your children know that you care about what happens to them and that you love them, even if they make mistakes. Sometimes this isn't easy, but it is important. Children who are old enough to be allowed outside the family home and therefore outside of your control also need to know the facts about the drugs they will encounter. Cigarettes can cause heart disease, lung and throat and mouth cancer, and debilitating breathing problems, all of which can shorten a life. The earlier a child starts drinking alcohol, the greater the risk of future alcohol-related problems, such as diseases of the liver, heart, and central nervous system. Children can become hooked on alcohol more quickly than adults, and one drink has a greater effect on their smaller bodies. Inhalants can permanently damage the brain, lungs, kidneys, and liver. Inhalants can also cause seizures. People who are frightened or exert themselves physically right after sniffing can die. Also, suffocation can occur if a person passes out while inhaling from a plastic bag. There is mounting evidence that smoking marijuana interferes with the maturing process and that it can decrease the production of sex hormones, which are important in growth and development of secondary sex characteristics. Because marijuana is a street drug, the user never knows what he's getting. It could contain weed killer or other drugs, both of which make it even more dangerous. Sometimes knowing that you love them and knowing the facts about drugs is enough to help a child make a healthy decision about not getting involved with drugs. But there's no guarantee. All you can do is understand that you may influence your kids' decisions one way or the other, but the final decision always rests with them. Kids use drugs for many reasons. Peer pressure, that is, their friends do drugs and they want to be part of that group. Curiosity, they wonder what it's like or think it looks like fun. Lack of self-esteem, they don't feel good about themselves or they don't know that they're entitled to say no. Boredom, they haven't got anything else to do. Adult influence, they see adults or older siblings using drugs and want to be like them. To give your child the best possible opportunity to decide against using or continuing to use drugs, keep communicating. One conversation isn't enough. Even with all the best intentions in mind, a discussion about drugs can become emotional, which can lead to frustration on both sides and a breakdown in communication. But there are ways to overcome this problem.
Hi.
Hi, can I talk to you a minute?
I'm going to Carol's.
Well, can I talk to you before you go?
Well, what about?
Well, Carol's dad called this morning, and he said that at the party you two went to last night, there was some drinking going on. Is that true?
Yeah, but I didn't have any.
Well, let's just talk about one thing at a time, all right? So there was some drinking going on. Well, thanks for being honest about it. You know, you shouldn't have stayed if there was. You should have come straight home or called me to come and pick you up. Which leads me to my second point. Now, you say you didn't have any, but Mr. Hurst said you two, well, that Carol had some.
She had a beer.
You didn't have any?
No,
Amy, is that the truth? You and Carol are best friends. You've always done everything together.
I didn't have any.
You know, before you went to the party, you promised your mom and I that you'd stay away from drinking and other drugs.
You and Mom were up when you got home last night. Did you smell anything?
Your mom and I were watching TV. Amy, that's not the point.
I didn't have any.
Look, the point I'm trying to make is...
I didn't have any. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm leaving.
Amy. All right. Amy, I'm sorry. I guess it looks like I believe Carol's dad and I don't believe you, huh? Well, I was wrong to do that. You know when your mom and I asked you to stay away from drugs?
Yeah?
We never really talked about it, did we?
What do you mean?
How you could see your friends and not get into a situation where you'd hurt yourself or do something that was against the law. Well, I think we should talk about it. What do you think?
Do we have to do it now?
Okay, yeah. We'll do it later then.
So can I go now?
Just remember,
What?
we want to talk to you about it because we care about what happens to you. And we love you.
George started discussing his suspicions about the party and Amy's possible involvement with drugs on the right foot. But things got emotional anyhow. Let's see where the emotions started to come into play and how George recovered and turned an argument back into a discussion. George began by being honest, telling Amy that he needed to talk and what it was about. He listened to Amy's explanation. He indicated his respect for her honesty about the drinking that had occurred. But at the same time he was showing her respect, he was also challenging her. That's when the trust between them started to break down.
Look, the point
Assumptions led to both sides digging in. Communication got difficult and emotions started running high. In this situation, parents have the greater ability to get the conversation back on track. So George apologized. Attitude is as important as words. George's change of attitude showed Amy that he wanted to trust her and that he was concerned about her feelings. He then clearly stated that they would try to come up with some rules that were fair to everyone. And he told her that he cared about her. What Amy didn't see, but what's just as important, is that George is trying to keep a sense of humor about being a parent. Most kids who experiment with drugs never go past trying them, but some will, and there's no telling who. What is known, though, is that many kids have their first drug experience at home. This is where kids' attitudes towards drugs are first influenced by observing parents and older brothers and sisters and listening to what they say about their drug use. Their behavior often becomes a young person's model and reason for drug use. But while kids copy parents, they do it without understanding the effects of the drugs that are being used or the difference in their effect on adults and children. Your kids get hundreds of mixed messages about drugs from friends, the media, celebrities, and older siblings, and these messages get through. So one of the best things you can do is set a good example. You are still the most important person in your kids' lives, and you have the opportunity to make your message a good one.
Well, there are times and places when adults can drink, if they do it responsibly, but there is no time and no place when a kid should drink.
Yeah, but lots of kids do.
Well, that may be true, but that's other kids. Your mom and I don't want you to drink. We're just not comfortable with it.
Can't I even try?
Nope, can't even try.
Boring.
Boring. There's lots of other things you can do.
Yeah, like what?
Well, skateboarding, jogging, listening to music, cycling. You don't need alcohol for any of that.
Hey, why don't we go for a walk? I mean, all of us. Want to come?
George and Jill are trying to set a good example, but it is hard to satisfy a child's natural curiosity. So when George and Jill felt they had to explain themselves about drinking, they did so in simple, personal language.
Your mom and I don't want you to drink. We're just not comfortable with it.
Of course, you will have to decide what examples you want to set and what your personal message is. But always remember, even though you've gone through what your kids are going through, it is impossible to explain it to them. Children can't understand the maturing process until they've gone through it too. Tobacco, alcohol, inhalants, and marijuana can make the maturing process more difficult because they are mood-altering drugs. Mood-altering drugs impair thinking, judgment, and coordination. This is what makes them dangerous. People rarely die from overdosing mood-altering drugs, but often die from accidents resulting from errors in judgment and loss of bodily control. The danger of having an accident is increased by mixing drugs. Alcohol can cause trouble speaking and thinking. Marijuana can cause loss of coordination. Inhalants can cause seizures. Together, they can get a child into a situation he cannot handle. One of the greatest dangers in using drugs is the unknown. You have no direct control over what goes on outside your home. The decision to try drugs or avoid them is made by your children. When they make the decision, they live with the results. But you can give them a lot of help in making good decisions. One way is by helping them refuse to take drugs. You can teach them how to handle peer pressure to try drugs or continue using them by helping your kids find out what to say.
So, you guys all done?
Yeah.
So, can we talk?
Dad, I'm kind of tired.
Well, it's kind of on my mind right now. You think you can stay awake?
Do we have to do it now?
Please? Look, I just saw this show on TV about drugs. And I was wondering what you guys would say if somebody offered you some marijuana to smoke. I'm not going to ask you if somebody has offered it to you. And if somebody did, you don't have to tell me their names. That's not the point. We made a deal, right? You guys are going to avoid that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering what you'd say if, say, a friend or somebody else tried to get you to try marijuana or alcohol or some other kind of drug.
I'd say no.
Mm-hmm. That's it. What if it was a real good friend? Or let's say that everybody else was trying it except you. Amy?
I don't know. Come home?
Mm-hmm. Suppose you couldn't come home.
I don't know. What difference does it make?
Well, it could make a big difference. You know, we might be able to come up with a way to tell people you don't want their drugs. What do you think? You want to try it?
Your kids may have a good answer when someone asks them if they want to take drugs, or they may not. George was looking for a reason and a time to talk to Amy and Max about it, and even though Amy didn't seem interested, he persisted. They both had ideas about what to do, but neither one had thought about trying different ways to say the same thing. There are many ways that kids can refuse drugs. We'd like to show you 3 approaches they can try. First, the broken record. When using this method, a kid simply sticks to his story, no matter what.
And she says, please. And I said, hey, Mikey, let's go, man. We got some brew. What? Beer, beer. Yeah, I'm not interested. Oh, come on, man. There's not going to be any left. Now, let's go. We're going. So? So what's the matter, Mikey? Read my lips. No. Man, you're sounding like a broken record.
Second, humor. Humor involves making the person offering the drugs feel foolish. Getting friends to help can make it easier.
Let's go smoke up, guys. Darn it, Tony, I can't. I've got basket weaving this afternoon.
I can't even think about it after doing all this milk.
What are you guys talking about? Talking about bowling. What are you talking about?
I thought it was math.
No, it was socks. I was talking about socks.
Oh.
Like my socks?
Nice socks. Do you like them, Tony?
Yeah, real funny guys.
Third, a kid may reverse the pressure. This way, the one who's offering a drug has to explain his or her action.
So I told her I'm not going to miss this dance, and she said, well, you have to be home by 10:30. And I said, we'll see. And boy, did she go crazy. Katie?
No, no thanks.
Katie doesn't smoke.
That's right, I don't.
So?
So I don't need it.
And if none of these ways work, a child can seek out friends who make them feel most comfortable about their decision to not take drugs. You can help your kids find a way to refuse, and you can help them sharpen their refusal skills by practicing with them. Your involvement and your love can help build their confidence. If you've ever experienced problems communicating with your kids, you're not alone. Almost every parent does, and for that matter, most kids have the same problems reaching their parents. If you've tried to communicate and you're still not getting through, you might consider talking it over with your friends or with other parents who've already been through it. If family drug use has grown beyond your control, you should seek professional help. Either way, do whatever it takes to find the answers that work best for your family. And while you're trying, don't forget to stop every once in a while and give yourself a pat on the back. Communicating about drugs isn't easy, and it could take some time to get through, but it will be worth it when you do.